At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to Lethas Real Talk. My name is Letha. We're going live here at the We Believe Digital Universal Studios. And today I want to talk about parenthood. I want to address parenthood for how I see it. I want to talk about parenthood as I know it. I will also be addressing parenthood as far as things that I feel like I should have done better. Also, I will be talking about things that I feel like I possibly should have not done. So I want to start off by saying, as we know, parenthood is truly not easy. I think there's a misconception that there are a lot of men, especially black men, that are not involved in their children's lives, and that's just a false misconception. That's just not the narrative. Also, I feel like people think that people truly are intentionally not doing the best that they can. There is no manual when it comes to being a parent. There is no official manuscript on how you raise your children, on how you help other people raise their kids. There is no proper way. It's different per child, it's different per family, it's different per individual that's raising the children or that's raising the child. It's just truly different for anyone. When I became a parent, I was 23. I felt like I was too young at that time. I really did. However, once I got more into parenthood, the younger years seemed to be a little bit easier for me. I had a lot of help. Their fathers was always there. My family was always there. The family on the father's side was always there. I can actually say that from my experience, if my kids went neglected without anything, it was honestly because of me. It had nothing to do with the lack thereof of their fathers. Now, me being my age now, and now I'm 45, I will soon to be 46. Me being the age that I am now, and when I talk to other people, whether it's people in my age group, whether it's people younger, whether I'm trying to explain things to the generation that came before my age group, my age group of people, there is truly no right way to be a parent. It's no right way. I feel like that society has put a lot of pressure on people in general. I feel like there are a lot of parents who are confused. I feel like there are a lot of parents who are lost. I feel like other things outside of the structures that you set inside your home do affect how you raise your kids. One thing that I think truly affects what's needed for a child as far as that attention, as far as that family circle, you have more people working now past a certain age. That's truly the reality. So this is not the era of 40 and 50 or even 60 years ago. When you have people past even the age of 60 that has to work just to make means or just to help be supportive of their families, that means you have more grandparents working. That means if you have more grandparents working or great grandparents working, that means these are people that used to be in the home. When I grew up, these are people that used to be available that to assist with the upbringing of your children, and they're not just available now, and it's not because people don't want to be available. Literally, it's because a lot of people are not financially where they need to be, or where they should be, or where they could be. But however, you truly have more people that have to work. Also, outside of parenting, is everybody has an idea or an opinion on how you need to raise your children. Everybody has an idea on what you should not do when it involves raising your children. Everybody has something to say if something goes wrong with your children. One thing I've never understood, that it appears to be if something occurs with a child, it seems like it always falls back on the mother. I think that it's not just the mother. I'm not here to blame fathers who may or may not be present. I'm not here to blame mothers who may or may not be present, because there was truly times in my life where I took a sabbatical from being a parent. Whether it was voluntarily or involuntarily, there was truly seasons in my life where I didn't want to live that parent role. And I have no idea as to why. I truly don't know. I have no valid reason. I can't say that I was lacking certain things. I just feel like that I wanted to do other things in those moments. And in me wanting to do other things in those moments, I would reach out to other people to assist me with my children. And I think that's another flaw that people need to stop doing. When we have children, they are truly our children. They truly are. But I also believe that the more people that you bring around your children, the older your children get, I think it adds a little bit more mental chaos to your children, because at some point your children start to wonder, well, why you did not spend this time with me? And it can't always be because of work. It can't always be because, I was going through a rough season. It can't always be because I just couldn't get myself together. Because in their minds, it's just that you really did not want to be bothered, when a lot of the times people truly have no valid reason. Sometimes people just have mental shutdowns. Sometimes babies are always cute. Babies are truly cute all the time, until it's time for you to do a lot of diaper changing, until it's time for you to do a lot of bottle feeding, until it's time for you to have to get up in the middle of the night, until it's time for you to sit up and cuddle, until it's time for you to have to go to these doctor's appointments. And in today's time, if they sniffle wrong, you're not even able to go to work until it's time for you to have to adjust your work schedule, because you're not allowed to take them to the babysitter, or because the daycare said that they cannot come in there. There is really a lot of work with parenthood, and outside of that work with parenthood also comes a lot of pressure. People need to be more understanding of people with the seasons where they are in their lives. And I go back to situations where we see on TV, we'll watch on social media, past and the present, where we're being so critical of what we feel like other people need to do. And a lot of the times, most of us are truly on the outside looking in. We don't know people's true struggles. We don't know what their bills are like. We don't know how many phone calls they get from the schools. We don't know how much energy or how much sleep that they may have lost just ripping and running in between. We don't know if they truly reached out to other people, whether it's family members or close friends, to assist them. We truly don't know. We truly don't know a married couple's struggle, or people that are lifetime, long-term partners struggle when it comes to their children. People really don't know. But yet and still, people are easily to be so critical on what other people need to do, and we don't even know the setup of their lifestyle. We don't even know people's routines. We don't know what's truly going on behind closed doors. We just truly know what we see. Part of being, I feel like, a world of togetherness, not just a nation, not just a state, not just a county, not just a city, not just communities, not just within families. I believe part of that togetherness is truly understanding that whatever your struggles are with being a parent, that you are truly not alone. You're truly not alone. People make more sacrifices than they do compromises. There are more children that are truly in decent homes, I believe, than children that are in not decent homes. There are more children who have support from their families than they do from children who may not have any families at all. We see the news, we watch social media. You know, we see kids sometimes may or may not be dressed. We see kids roaming the street, and automatically we just jump in and we have all these opinions about what people are not doing. Then we sit up and we publicly chastise people, and we publicly come down on people, and we publicly beat up people and abuse people publicly. And we're not even sitting in the seat in which they were in. It's hard for a lot of people. It is truly hard. I'm not just saying women, it's hard for these dads out here. I mean, it has to be hard for a father to feel like that whatever goes on with the child is because of his negligence, and that's not always the case. Just like it's not always the case what goes on with a child is the case of the parent. Kids that are in school, for instance, or daycare, or Head Start, or pre-K, they spend more time in those school settings than they do at home. Just like when parents work, they spend more time at work than they do at home. So think about the time that these families are spent separated from each other. Imagine that. Imagine that a child is in a school setting for 8+ hours a day. Imagine the same thing for their parent. And most of the parents is 45 plus 50 hours a week. Imagine that. Imagine that that parent has to be where they are because they have financial obligations elsewhere. And then what gets me is when people have the audacity to say, well, if they weren't in a position to raise kids, you know, they shouldn't have had kids. They should have thought about that before they had kids. But yet and still you here. Somebody struggled taking care of you. Your life wasn't no peaches and creams, and I don't even know who you are. It was not easy for you being brought into this world. It wasn't easy buying diapers, and it wasn't easy handling child care, or my bad, it wasn't easy unless you was just able to drop them off at Big Mama and Madia's house and keep rolling. And even with that, it's not easy, because just as easy as it was to drop them off somewhere else, the other party still involved still had to figure out how to get your children fed, how to get them fed on time. They had to make sure they had their baths. They have to make sure they go over their homework. They have to be responsible for making sure that they go to school. That's not an easy task. And we want to act like that there are more younger people having more struggles than older people, and I really don't believe it. And the reason I'm not one who's big on statistics, because you can make anything look any type of way on paper. That's just truly how I believe. That's just really how I believe. And then you have more people crying out, apologizing for how they parented when they did the best they could do. And I look at myself now. I listen to my kids sometimes, and as I listen to them, sometimes it can be some hurtful things said. It truly can. I've learned not to have a response to everything. That's one of my biggest struggles. One of my biggest struggles is if my children are talking to me, and I tell people they're not children, they're young adults, but if they're talking to me, I have had to learn not to have a response for everything, because just because that's the way they deem it in their mind, that truly does not mean that that's the way it is. That's not the true reality. And if that's the way they want to live and they want to feel in their reality, I've had to learn that I cannot take that away from them. But I've also had to learn that I'm not going to spend my life apologizing. I'm not going to do that. And I encourage parents in general not to spend your lives apologizing for everything that you feel like that you should have done better, that you could have done better, or for things that you feel like you just blatantly did wrong, because most parents on purpose do not do wrong. And then I can't help but to wonder, define right or wrong. Who am I to critique how I feel like my parents raised me? 45 years old. There is no way that I knew more than their parents or than them. Now, do I feel like there may have been things that should have been done different? Years ago, I kind of felt like that, but presently, honestly, if I'm truly being honest, most of my upsetness as a child came from people and not my parents. It wasn't from my parents, it was from other people in the families. It was older cousins or aunt and uncles, or maybe a particular grandparent that may deemed other people's children better than my parents' children were. That's where a lot of my upsetness came from. A lot of my upsetness came from, oh well, she's not as smart as her. A lot of my upsetness, I didn't get that from my parents, but I got it from other people in the family. And that's why I tell people, when we talk about bullying with these children, most bullying starts in families. It truly does, but that's conversations that people truly don't want to have. Bullying starts within your family for the most part. Bullying doesn't start with these children when they get to school. So when people critique parents, you think as yourself, if these are not your children, if these are your younger cousins, if these are your nieces and nephews, how did you make them feel? Did you make them feel like your children were better, or that somebody else's children were better? Imagine a group of kids that's never being asked to participate when other kids of the family are always going somewhere. That's a true reality. Just imagine that. Imagine that somebody asks you to do something as a teenager, and another adult steps in and make it known that they don't feel like you're the one who should be qualified to be able to do it. They need to ask one of the other children in the family to do it. These are truly realities for a lot of people. Yet and still, we will sit up and we will correct. We will criticize the father on where we feel like they may or may not have played their role. We'll create the mother for not being more nurturing and not being more loving, but we won't correct ourselves in retrospect to how we treated somebody else's child in the family. I've never understood that. I've never understood how you could sit up here and come down on somebody's child so hard, but then it could be a whole nother family that you see or that you have no affiliation with, and you will be okay with that. I've never understood that. I never understood color struck people. I said it. I got them on both sides of my family. And I'm probably very dark skinned considered to some of the people in my family on my mother's side. But people don't want to have those type of conversations. Listen, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this after our commercial break. I'm Letha. We're airing right here live on We Believe Digital Podcast Universal Studios. We'll be back with you briefly after this commercial break. Thank you.
SocratesGarrettENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. SocratesGarrettENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
Hello, thank you for tuning back in. I'm Letha. We Believe Digital Podcast Universal Studios, and today I've been talking about parenthood. Right before the commercial break, I spoke briefly about people being critical of parents, but other adults in the families or other adults that come around don't think about the role that they played in adding to some of the anguish and to the bullying that has occurred with some of these children in these families right now. Let me say something. I have nieces and nephews, as well as 3 children. I am not the one to sit up and criticize nobody for what they do. I truly am not. And it took a moment for me to truly get to this place. I don't ever want my children to feel like, and they probably have in the past, but as I continue to push forward, I don't ever want my children to feel like that they are inferior to a sibling or to anybody else's children. And let me talk to grown people for a minute. Whatever the traditions are that you grew up on, stop trying to force that down the next generation's throat. I grew up around people meeting together at both of my grandparents' homes. I did, but guess what? Now that no more of my grandparents are living, their children don't want to have those type of togetherness anymore. They don't. So if we want to talk about some things, or we want to discuss some things, or we want to chastise people, think about the role that you have truly played in somebody else's life. I don't try to prop my kids up before other people's children, but I'm darn sure not gonna try to make them feel inferior. And I don't want to do that to my nieces and my nephews either. I don't want to be that person. Now, I've tried to be that person to where if you need me, you can come talk to me. I'm always here. However, that was not always easy for me. It was not. I look at my daughter and I listen to my daughter sometimes, and she have her moments. She's 22 years old, and she got some great things going for herself, and she's back in school, and she got a lot of good things going for herself. But I listen to her sometimes, and she has this complex about making other people happy. Where do the complex come from that you just want to make certain people happy? You know where the complex come from? It came from us. It came from people in our generation because we felt like we had to make other people happy. And one thing I had to realize, no matter how happy you try to make people, people will never be that proud of you because people will always have a problem with something that you do. People will always be critical of you, but they can't criticize themselves. And that's another thing. People can criticize what you do as a person, as an individual, as a parent, as a young adult. They will criticize you as a grandparent. They will criticize you as a child. But people are not excessively critical of themselves. I'm a firm believer, be the change you want to see. So when I hear her at moments, and it has truly calmed down, it's nothing like it used to be. It is nothing like it used to be. But when I hear her now at moments, she listens a little bit more. Because now she's understanding more that it's not your goal to live for other people. It's not your goal to live in the shadows of other people. But I've also had to realize that there are probably times that I added to that I caused that feeling. And I know that the feeling was caused because those was feelings that was given to me coming up. And those are truly hurtful feelings. It is very hurtful when you are doing the best that you can mentally. Whether we all know that we can always do something better, but can you imagine how hurtful it is knowing that there is nothing you can do to truly satisfy anybody? But yet and still, when a young adult or a child feels like this, it always falls back on the parent. You don't know what comments and remarks that the principal and teachers are saying at school. You're not always there when somebody else in your family is critiquing your child, or if your child standing in line to get their plate fixed and this adult overlook your child and fix somebody else's plate. These are things we don't even pay enough attention to. We don't pay enough attention that favoritism starts in these family circles. That's truly where they start. People only care, Lord and forbid, if somebody died. That's when people want to come together. That's when people want to include everybody. That's when people want to treat everybody like they're equal. Want to treat everybody like they truly matters. When we know that even in death, that people truly don't matter to you the way that you pretend that they matter to you in that moment of somebody else's death. Truly don't. Show people you care about them by checking on them. Uplift other parents. Uplift these younger people. Uplift these children. Stop being so critical on how you think somebody else ought to parent their kids. Because none of us grew up in a perfect environment. All of us have grown up in a flawed environment. And I think people have what I call selective amnesia. People choose to forget certain things. My dad's brother, I think I was a little spoiled brat on my dad's side. I really think I was like a big time spoiled brat. My uncle would rip and run up and down the road so much for my dad's children. He really would. My dad had a much smaller family. Well, on my mom's side, I know we was loved, but on both sides, I still feel like it was just some favoritism no matter what. You ever had a conversation with somebody about something and you're speaking about something, or you may be trying to share something good with them about you, and they can't even allow you in your young adult moment, in your child moment, in your teenage moment, in your youth moment, in your adult moment, they can't even allow you to try to share with them the good things that you have going on without bringing up something that somebody else got going on. In my opinion, that's bullying. In my opinion, you're steady comparing me to somebody else. Those are hurtful situations. Those are mentally hurtful situations. We talk about the mental issues that a lot of these younger people are having when they technically don't have coping issues. There is truly a difference. However, when people in my age bracket are struggling, still seeking acceptance and a form of validation that may never come, because even the very people outside of their parents that help rear and raise us are still making some comparison to somebody else on the level that somebody else is doing it, instead of encouraging people with where they are. I'm not here to be like everybody else. I'm truly not. I come from a family of educators. I can't teach y'all's chaps, okay? I taught Sunday school. The moment that shoe flew across the room at somebody's chap who was 2 grades behind, who couldn't read, while they was in the wrong Sunday school class, that's not for me. I'm not cut like that. And I don't have to be cut like everybody else. And guess what? My children don't have to be cut like everybody else. Guess what? Your children don't have to be cut like everybody else's. Guess what? Young people, and your parents are not other people's parents. I could confide in teachers coming up in school, but my teachers didn't validate my BS. They did not. Well, now, in today's time, you have more teachers validating these younger people's BS, because that's just the world we in. A child can go confide, or a young person or a teenager can go confide in somebody, and they're good actors, because you was a good actor too, and so was I. They can go confide in somebody, and they can make it seem like at times that home life is just the worst that it has truly ever been. And we know for a fact that a lot of the problems with a lot of younger people, just like when you all was young and just like when I was younger, if you didn't get your way, it would be a problem. But these are discussions that people are not having. I've had people to reach out to me about their parent or parents before, and I'm only listening to so much before I still remind that young adult or that teenager or that child to know you're technically out of line, because it's so much you think you know that you truly don't know. You can't know the sacrifices of being a parent if you've never been a parent. You can't understand the sacrifices of raising children if you've never raised children. You can't understand the sacrifices of having to leave your job if you never had to leave your job. You can't understand the sacrifices of robbing Peter to pay Paul just to make ends meet, to be able to provide for you what you need if you've never had to make those sacrifices. It's certain things that certain people truly can't understand if they don't have those experiences and if they have never lived their life. But it amazes me that a lot of parents are being deemed so horrible when that's not the case, just like a lot of these kids are not lost. I don't believe they're lost. I just believe that society is just so jacked up. I believe that society is not on board with discipline. I believe that society is not on board with structure. That's what I believe. I had to learn how to write in cursive coming up through school. I had to learn how to read. I had to learn how to count, multiply, divide, and subtract, have basic math skills at a certain age. I feel like in today's time, by the 10th grade, they need to let them out of school, because past the 10th grade, they're not doing anything anyway. But who set up the structure? Does that fall on the parent? Or does that fall on the structure of society? Because it sure doesn't just fall on the school. Then things are so expensive right now, and I'm going to keep talking about inflation because it's truly real. Things are so inflated right now that you got parents working, even if it's 2 adults in the household, 1.5 to 2 jobs apiece. While these schools are having tennis shoe balls, while they having all these expensive proms, while they always want somebody to pay for something. And parents are truly trying to do things, a lot of parents, just so their kids don't miss out on stuff. Does that fall on the parent? We was at work a few weeks ago and a young lady walked in, Lord bless her, and I'm a little bit too stern for a lot of people. The young lady walked in. Stop sending y'all's teenagers in businesses thinking they can just sell candy without asking to even speak to the manager or asking to speak to somebody in charge. That's just the rudest thing. I got a problem with that. Everybody want to have a fundraiser. Everybody want to walk somewhere and sell some candy. Nobody wants to even ask for permission. People are not even truly taught etiquette anymore. Is that on the parent or is that on whoever is operating the fundraiser? Pay attention to the structure of society. I got a problem when you have little league football teams and basketball teams standing on the corner asking for money, but y'all don't want to go nowhere and offer to do no car wash or bag up no leaves or work for anything. Does that fall directly on the parent? No, it falls on the structure. So society can put whatever out here. They can put out whatever rules in place. They can set whatever standards are in place, and everything falls back on the parent. You do know there are more parents that perform more structure for their kids versus parents who don't want any structure at all. You do understand that there are more parents who want their children to truly learn how to read versus parents who don't care about their kids not being able to read at all. You do understand that there are more parents that wish that the curriculum was set up where they still had more VOTEC, they still had some home ec, they still understood what a signature is versus parents who does not prefer these things at all. You do understand that parents are okay with their children being taught about checks and balancing and basic accounting. Even if that parent doesn't know how to do it, they will still be okay with your children learning these things in school versus it being a lesser amount of people who would not prefer that for their children at all. You do understand that there are a lot of parents who would love for their kids to be able to go to church and would love to be able to, take their children to church. But however, because this world can't stop moving, keep in mind blue laws have been non-existent for how many years? Before my time, if I'm not mistaken. So because the world can't shut down to give people a break from trying to keep this economy going, that it's not that parents are just not intentionally trying to root and rear the children a certain way. We do understand this, right? And we need to also understand that stop always saying that it's on the parent. And when you get to a certain age, I'm a firm believer, and this comes from my personal experience. When a person gets to a certain age, no matter what age they may be, if this is where you are mentally, so guess what? If at the age of 13 and 14, in your brain you grown. In your brain you grown. If a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old is grown in their head, is truly grown inside their head, There is almost nothing anybody could do to change that. Well, what would help change that and what would help rule and rid them? Maybe they need an experience without a parent or an adult being there to save them from everything. Maybe they need the experience of going to work and going to school and turning around, pay a bill. Maybe they need that experience. I don't know the perfect answer. I truly don't have the perfect response. But what I do know is just as well as society are talking about the rights of these younger people, parents have rights too. I was watching a video, and I'm going to mention this before I close out. There's a video floating around about these advocates for abortion at this school. Okay? Now, the problem I got with this is you done popped up on a school campus. One of the teachers or administrators done told y'all to leave. So I don't know if the lady that came out was the principal. I don't know if she was the assistant principal. I don't know who she was, but I commend her, right? Because she's letting her know, you better not give them any of that type of information because they're still children. I got a problem that this world has co-signed that other people can lead your children a certain way, but you're not able to direct your child in the way that you would prefer them to go. Does that truly fall on the parent? Society as a whole is not doing what society used to do as a whole. Society as a whole used to have a certain form of structure. No matter what your religious beliefs were or were not, society as a whole still believed in discipline. Majority of society was okay with education, and society a lot of the times at one point was okay with your children learning how to do something with their hands. But now the standards of society has totally dropped. And I tell people, based on what's going on with society, a lot of parents cannot keep up with that. Now, here's a misconception. You can't conform, is what people will try to tell you. You're not the one conforming, but you can't even compete either. Because wherever your child spends the majority of time, no matter how we look at it, that's truly is what aids in leading your child. You're doing the best you can do for those of you who are parents, for those of you who are grandparents, for those of you who are those uncles and those aunts, or those siblings who are raising children, for those of you all who are godparents, whatever role you may be, for those of you who are school teachers, nurses, whatever you may be in life, you're doing. If you know that you're doing the best you can do, that's all you can do. But don't walk around here feeling bad, all because society is telling you that you're not doing enough. Listen, I thank you all for tuning in today to Lethas Real Talk. You can catch me at Lethas Real Talk, hashtag Lethas Real Talk on all social media platforms. And please follow We Believe Digital Podcast Universal Studios on all social media platforms. Please hit the like, hit the share button. Sponsorship packages are always available. Reach out to We Believe Digital Universal Studios. Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Socrates Garrett ENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. Socrates Garrett ENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking